Hi everyone, welcome back to Kanika's Corner. As you can see, I have a very special guest today. We're basically going to be talking more about mother-daughter relationships, how complicated they are, how beautiful they are, and what we did to work on it.
So, as you know, I am Kanika's mother, and I'm here because I would like others to also understand how it's not difficult to have a wonderful daughter-mother relationship.
So the first thing that we did was that we wanted to make our relationship better, right? We wanted to work on it. We wanted to move away from all of that, the constant fighting, acrimony. So we wanted to make that difference, and that's why it worked.
Yeah, so the first thing is to acknowledge that something has gone wrong with a relationship. A relationship, whether it's mother-daughter or any relationship, needs to be worked on. It doesn't automatically bloom and become a lovely flower. It has to be worked on, and constant communication is what needs to be there. You need to communicate what you're feeling, you need to communicate what your thoughts are, you need to communicate what your fears are, and unless you do this, and also what are your aspirations and what are my aspirations, unless we communicate and we reach a middle pathway where we say, all right, what you're doing is right, it won't happen. So one of the worst things among Indian mothers and parents is that we never ever compliment our child on anything that she does. We are always saying, you must do better, you must do better, this is not good enough. And to the child, it always sounds like you're putting her or him down. So
Okay. Like you haven't noticed all the work that we have done up till now to have gotten this far.
So we have to learn to compliment. We always feel that if we compliment, then it goes to their head. Actually, we need to compliment them at every step, not just ask for more and more. And we also need to know what is it that the child wants, in what direction is the child wanting to go ahead. And it's not necessary that everyone needs to become a professional in a particular way as we did 35-40 years ago.
Correct. So one of those things that came up through therapy for us was that I felt pressurized to do well in science because I thought I had to become a doctor like my mother, and I had a father as an engineer, so I felt that pressure of, if I don't do well in science, will they appreciate me? Will they
be disappointed in you?
Yeah, will they be
not appreciate you? Will they be disappointed in you?
Yeah.
So actually, one of those conversations, this came up, and I told Kanika, you do what you like. You don't have to be a doctor or an engineer unless your passion takes you that way. And when she said that I want to drop science, I was delighted to tell her that yes, you can drop science provided you have got through the 10th standard. So 10th standard was the benchmark where you had to pass and get enough marks to get to the college of your choice for PUC and then move on.
But I can't tell, and that actually made so much of a difference because that was at that end of the time when we were having all our various issues. And to know I had that kind of support of Amma coming in and saying, you don't like it, it's okay, you drop it. But you have to do well enough to move to the next stage. And okay, how can I help you? I will sit with you these evenings, I'll work on biology, we'll have someone else help you with this, with that.
And of course, Dad said that he will work on you on maths and physics, and it was a complete failure because he could not explain
at my level. He explained, but not with examples that I was able to understand. So, we can now look back at all of this and laugh about it. But it's because we spoke to each other constantly that we broke that misunderstanding that was constantly there, that we were able to do this. And I think part of it was that we went through a period where we were not talking to each other. Right? Not about our daily things, how we were feeling. And when we did start doing that, we left behind our baggage of, this is who I think you are and this is the way I perceive you. We kept all of that aside. It was like a clean slate and us saying, okay, let's get to know you again. Who are you? What makes you tick? What makes you feel like this is not a good idea? We started with all of that again. And I think that's when we started understanding each other and each other's perspectives, it got much better.
Yeah, it's always good to understand. A child has a mind of her own, and we need to know what it is. So one of the baggages that you carried through was while in Dubai, you excelled in all the subjects. But when we shifted to Bangalore, suddenly the standard, though it was a CBSE school and this was also a CBSE school, the standard went higher, I think, and therefore you started finding difficulty. Like me, truly arithmetic and geometry was fine, but trigonometry was bad, and I was so delighted when I finished my second PUC and I could drop the higher algebra, trigonometry and all that stuff. So I completely understood when you said that you don't want to do any of that.
Yeah, correct. Disagreements are common, right? Especially in that phase when we didn't understand each other very well. But I think the way we went past it was we take our break from each other, because at that point you'd only want to shout and not be willing to listen to the other person. But come back, come back and talk about that same issue, explain it, hopefully in calmer tones and not as angry as you were previously.
And leave your ego behind.
That's very important. Leave your ego behind. Yeah.
So basically, after you cool down, come sit, mull over the whole thing together and break it down if you want, but smoothen it out and go to bed having solved the problem. Don't go to bed, because if you go to bed without having cleared the air, what will happen is that you will not get sleep in the night.
No, and so you think about it, it becomes larger, it becomes, you pick out minute points, and that becomes the crux of the whole discussion. And by the morning, you're geared up to talk about that, but you're so exhausted because you haven't gotten a night's sleep that, what would have been a discussion about something else or a disagreement about something becomes totally something else. And the whole of the next day goes for a 6 because you haven't cleared the air before.
So basically, we need to understand that it's not me versus Kanika, but Kanika and me versus the issue that is, boiling between us. And so both of us together will work to
clarify
and, bring down the fire.
Yeah. So it makes a big difference to talk. And like Amma said in the beginning, talk about everything, talk about every little thing that's happening for you. More importantly, make time in your day to talk to each other,
okay.
Right? Days are busy, and it's very easy for us to say, hey, you didn't have the time. We didn't chat because you didn't have the time. Correct. It can go either way. You can say that to me, I can say that to you. But if we mutually say, no, I think let's take half an hour off, let's go for a walk, or both of us will go on a trip to buy groceries together. And you take that as an opportunity to talk about what is happening. Even if it is how I felt today, what happened today, it does not have to be significant things, right? To keep the connection going and to make sure the misunderstandings don't flare up, it's just important to talk. And that's true of any relationship. But we're here talking about the mother-daughter connection because we went through a very rough patch, and I think it impacted both of us at that point in how we functioned within the rest of the family, within professional lives and student lives. And I think we went through a phase where we were just both miserable.
So when we landed up taking some counseling from a wonderful counselor, the impact was, I think, so good on you that you actually then decided to take up psychology as your subject to study further.
Yeah.
And that's a positive impact
Absolutely.
of what the counselor did to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And I think all congratulations to her for putting you back on the right track and helping you to make the right decisions.
Correct.
And you also then took up the topic and began to study it, began to understand it much better. And now this is what, 16 years later, you are 16, 18 years later, you are actually doing the same counseling to a lot of children to help them to get over the turbulent teens, as they say.
Correct. Part of the motivation of doing that is that we succeeded. We managed to push our differences apart and make it better for ourselves and make it also therefore better for the rest of the
Family around.
Yeah. So, okay, our tips for a successful relationship between mothers and daughters: motivate each other correctly. Know that the other person is wanting to understand you, wanting to understand who you have become,
Grown up into.
who you have grown up into. Mothers don't belong to the previous or a prehistoric generation. They definitely understand what we are going through. Talk to each other every day. Make that time. Find something common that you can do. It makes such a big difference that even to this day, if it is only at 10 o'clock in the night that both Amma and I catch up, we still do that because we will be giggling about something and it feels like the sounding board is still available.
And it's a big release when you sit and giggle about some irrelevant thing that happened, but happened. And therefore, the sharing for the mother is also important because the daughter, she wants her daughter to understand her. And I think it is good. So all of you mothers who are going through this turbulent time with your teenage girls, take time off, sit with them, go for a movie, giggle over some snacks, and really just talk it out. You will be able to smoothen the whole thing out, and in the long run your daughter is your best friend.
Totally agree. And on that note, thank you for watching us today. We hope that talking about how our journey became a successful one and a positive one will help you make the changes that you need to in your relationship. And thanks for watching us. Please do subscribe.